I want you to build your wealth from the inside out. Why? Because you matter. Your heart matters. And I have found all too often that what we do with our money is we do not actually take our hearts along for the ride. I'm not really sure why us human beings have done that, but we've done it in spades. So I think it is super important for us to take that into account. What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to have a little bit of a conversation about something that most of us will experience at one time in our life or another. So I'm Julie Murphy. I'm the money chick. And guess what? I have created a financial planning firm here in Chicago that does things a little bit outside of the box. Why? Years ago, I had that mahogany desk office space and I decided, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm asking people to bare their heart and their souls about what's important for them to create in their lives. Yet I had a stiff suit on and I had a mahogany desk. Not really an environment that makes people feel comfortable to bare their heart and soul. So back, I can't even believe it was 20 years ago that I decided it's time for me to actually launch out. So today when I'm talking to you about your mortgages or mortgages that you may consider, I'm going to give you some out-of-the-box solutions of ways to think about how you approach whether it's buying for the first time or refinancing or helping your kids do it or your parents and how to structure these things. So I just want you to think about some things that are a little bit out of the box. Okay, ready? I'm going to share 4 things with you when it comes to mortgages. Number 1, before I say number 1, I'm sorry. I want you to make sure that you click the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell, because I'm not only going to be talking about mortgages to you guys, this is going to be in all aspects of not only financial planning, but overall life planning. I talk with experts on health and relationships, as well as your own individual spirit in your work life. Because here's the thing. I want you to build your wealth from the inside out. Why? Because you matter. Your heart matters. And I have found all too often that what we do with our money is we do not actually take our hearts along for the ride. I'm not really sure why us human beings have done that, but we've done it in spades. So I think it is super important for us to take that into account. So ready? Mortgage suggestion number 1. And remember, this doesn't fit for all people. These are just things that I want you to think about that are outside of the box. Okay. I need you to define the end goal first and foremost. What in the heck do I mean by that? Okay. So this is something that I see happen all the time with people. And I'll give an example. I had someone who's near and dear to my heart who came to me and said, "Oh my God, it's so exciting. We got a 30-year fixed and our payment is lower and we got a 3% interest rate." Sound familiar to anybody out there? Guess what? It's happening to a lot of people these days. And you know what? As interest rates have been low for so much of my career, which has been almost 30 years, it's kind of crazy in the fact that nobody asks the question. Are you ready for this? Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. At what age do you no longer want to have a mortgage? Seems to be a fair question. Yes, right? Every time I help anybody individually with this, nobody in that process asks, at what age do I no longer want to pay on this? Fascinating. So this person who's near and dear to me came to me and they were super excited that their payment went down. They got some relief. They felt like it was good. And then I said, "Can I ask why you want to pay that off at 82 years old?" And she looked at me, she goes, "I don't want to pay this till I'm 82 years old." She was super aware that she bought a 30-year fixed product. She was super aware that her interest rate went down and her payment went down, but she didn't take her heart's desire into account at all in the process. How can we eat? Yes, we need to shift this, right? And that's okay if she wants a 30-year fix with a lower payment, and that's totally fine. But the part that didn't resonate, the part she forgot about, was 82. So then when I got a hold of her, I was like, "Okay, so what age do you want?" And let's not bother refinancing. In some cases, you can refinance. It may or may not be right for you. But in this particular scenario, what we did is we said, hey, let's just go ahead and come up with a number of what it does by the age you want it to do. So many of us don't realize that you can actually dictate to the actual person what your amortization schedule is. So that's point number 2, that you can actually choose what your amortization schedule is. And some of you might be going, Jewel, I'm not in finance. And so can you tell me what the heck you're talking about? That just means how much of interest and principal is going to be paid. And depending on how many years you stretch it out, depends on how much goes of which and where. And I know that's not very technical, but one of the things you're going to learn about me is that I speak financial English, meaning that I say it in a way that you will actually get it and it will actually land in your system, because we want to take these hard concepts or things that seem esoteric and outside of ourselves, and I want to ground them into your system. So what's number 3? Number 3, this goes back, this is another goal. Like, if I want you to consider, if you're a person that's buying a property and you've got 5 to 7 years, then and you're saying, we're going to upgrade because this is our starter home, right? We talk about, hey, this is our starter home. And that's great that it's your starter home. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you an example. If you do a 30-year fix on a starter home, which a lot of people do because then you can buy a bigger house with lower payments, but you're still planning on leaving, which is a whole other story in itself. Like, why would you buy the bigger home that you still plan on leaving? That's okay if that's worked for you. Okay. But hear me out here. What might actually be a consideration is to say, on this, let's just say your mortgage payment's $2,000 a month, and only a couple $100s a month is going to go towards principal every month. And you can look this. There are many mortgage calculators out there on the internet. You can go in there, and if you don't think I'm telling the truth, just Google mortgage calculator, and you can see this for yourself. That in a 30-year fixed, in the first 5 to 7 years, very little money goes to the principal of those mortgages. Okay, so again, going back to, does this fit your objective? The objective here is the fact that, if I'm paying $2,000 a month, let's just say $200 a month. So you're looking at $2,400 a year is being paid down the principal, and the balance of it out of the $2,000 a month, which is $1,800, that's the amount that's going to interest, right? And this is just an example. This is not hard facts, hard numbers. When you look at that, after 5 to 7 years of staying in this place, the amount that's paid down on your principal is only going to pay enough money, for the most part, for the new house that you're going to buy, and it's going to pay the realtor to sell your old one. We don't realize this when we're buying on the front end. And this is a big faux pas. So this is where I want you to look back and say, so maybe you can't afford the payment of a 15-year when you're doing your starter home in the house that you want to buy. Consider a 20-year. Shrink it down so more goes to principal. So you have, because otherwise you're just paying expensive rent. You're not actually getting ahead. The goal by owning a place is to get ahead. But these products are set up to not necessarily do that, based on your life experience and what you want to create. All right. So you ready for number 4? This is for you guys, not on the starter home side, but this is for those of you who are on the back end are saying, you know what, I'm going to shrink that retirement home and I'm going to downsize. Now, some of you have built up really nice equity. So if you're in that in-between space, maybe you're like, hey, I just want to make sure that I have the mortgage product that actually gets me the equity that I want to have, so that my next home is just completely paid off when I go to downsize. So if you're in that in between, that's a consideration to make. Go, okay, well, as long as the principal that I paid down on this is, I'm just going to give an example of $300,000 by the time I move when I'm 65. When you're 65 and you're going to go to that ranch place, and you're planning on buying a townhome or a ranch home for like $300,000, and then you don't have a mortgage payment. So again, fitting your objective. Now, let's say you're at the other end of the pendulum and you're like, okay, so I am now retired and I'm buying that place and I didn't build up enough principal, which is a lot of people these days. where I didn't build up enough principal to actually like not have a mortgage payment in retirement. Well, is there a reason why you wouldn't then take more cash flow to you today and just take out a 30-year fix? Like, we're wired in our accumulation years in our lives to actually have that mortgage paid off. But if you're at retirement or in retirement and you don't have the equity to not have a mortgage payment, do you care if you die with a mortgage payment? You might. You might not. But this is the question that's out of the box that I will ask people. And often people will be like, yeah, I don't really care because whatever's in there is going to go to my heirs anyway. So why not decrease your cash outlay? You stabilize, except for your tax bill, your monthly mortgage payment as opposed to renting. And then so you don't have as much cost of living increase. And then you're sitting there going, okay, so I have more cash flow now to pay for lifestyle things that I want. All three different ways of looking at things, whether it's a starter home or you're in between or you're at retirement. But I want you to take into considerations what are your goals and the things to consider in that process. Now, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and this is number 5. This is I want you to think about your money in what I call your financial past, living in the present moment, and planning for the future all at the same time. So when you're considering how much you want to pay for a mortgage payment, I think it's really important for you to actually look at how much open cash flow do you want today to keep yourself nimble to live in life, because you certainly are able to get a lot of debt when it comes to a mortgage standpoint. But the question is, does that give you the flexibility to experience life, or are you like going what they call house poor because you're putting too much money into a mortgage payment per month? It's about whatever is going to create the happiness for you, because what I have found, happiness is not created with people when too much of your cash flows that are coming from your paycheck into your checking account go to pay for all your past choices, and that includes your mortgage, because your past choices are all the debt payments that you have, and most people really don't like that. So just a couple little tips there if you're considering refinancing or buying and purchasing your mortgages. Those little tips to help. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because I'm going to keep coming out with these tips and tools because I want you to get to exactly where you want in life. Peace.